Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Salvage Workshop. Today's plan is to try and get this truck right here running. I have no idea if it's any good. The story is that I bought it, a D3 dozer, and my Gehl Skid Steer from a gentleman who had a construction company. And this is where he stored them. I bought those two from him, and this truck was pretty much thrown in on the deal. They didn't want it anymore. I didn't want to pay for it, but I said I'd take it. When I was here, like probably going on a year and a half, 2 years ago, I checked the oil. There was none that I could see. And beyond that, I've done nothing with it. Let's do it again. Let's just check everything, make sure it is what I think it is, and we got to just tow it onto a trailer. If we can get it running, that is the ideal goal. But if not, I guess we'll just go from there. So let's do a quick walk around. I'll show you what the truck is, and where we go from there, we'll figure it out together. Mosquito. Almost went up my nose. All right, so what we have here is an International S2300 semi-tractor. I believe it's a 1985. When you look at this thing, you can see how like the dirt's piled up here. When I had the dozer still here, I tried to pull the truck a little bit more straight so that I could pull it onto a trailer. Well, it didn't work real well because the dozer wasn't turning very well, and so that's as far as I got it. The skid steer was on a trailer right here, and the dozer was sitting in this area here. I did not get a chance to make a video out of recovering these two machines because I lost the footage. I have an external hard drive that has the footage of the recoveries of these two, and it died. So maybe at some point I'll get somebody to recover that footage and we'll be able to show you the recovery of those. But for today, let's work on recovering this. This thing, it looks rough. Both doors don't shut for whatever reason. I have no idea. But you can see, you see the track, kind of see the grooves. The front tire was literally right next to that evergreen, and I drug it to where you see it here, and you see all the dirt piled up there. So that's as much as I know about this truck. It's a diesel engine, Cummins. Don't know what Cummins it is, but it does have this really beastly C-channel front bumper. That's cool. Yep, there's your Cummins. Got raccoon poop all over it. So yeah, I guess we'll just have to jump in and go from there. It's a really short nose, it seems like, but oh, look at that. Oh, that welding due to just try and keep that bracket for the radiator alive. So nothing in that, we don't care about that. Let's see if we got any coolant. It's moist in there, but I don't see any standing water. But the fact that it's got some wet residue says there's probably coolant or something in there. This is probably power steering. Well, that is right between full and add for power steering. That's a good sign for the steering. Not anything else. Where's the dipstick on this old dog? Still has these protectors, so these go up like that and they pin in. Those are nice to have. Yep, got them on both sides. There's a couple dipsticks. So I checked this when I was first here. That's the fill. This must be the dipstick. I checked these forever ago, like a year and a half ago, and there was no oil. Oh my, I just pulled the dipstick out of the dipstick. And actually, that shows oil. A little over full, but that dipstick just broke in half. Huh, wonderful. See, there's the brake. No clue where the tranny dipstick is. I wonder, did somebody else maybe come try and start this? I could have sworn this thing had literally no oil on it at all. Maybe I didn't have it pushed down in all the way, which is a possibility. That oil also looked ridiculously clean, like not black at all, like it had never been run. I mean, I don't know. Well, either one, I was wrong and there was oil in it, and maybe the dipstick wouldn't go down all the way because it was broken and it was kind of up here and I couldn't get it shoved down. Or two, somebody tried to start this between when I was here last and now. Clearly they didn't get anywhere with it because it's still sitting here. So let's see about the air cleaner. Oh, I see mouse infestation. Yep, they got insulation right there in that air intake. I think that says 10/2 of 93. So this was replaced in 1993. It's dirty and dusty, but in here looks okay. Not too bad. Needs a new filter, but for now this will be fine. Let's see how many gallons. 120. See, liquid 121. What does draw mean? Is it like? I don't know. One something. I can't quite read it, but liquid US gallons, 121 gallons for this tank. So let's see if we got any fuel in it. Ooh, look at that. Strap broke there. Rusting out there. I need something to dip. Alright. Well, we got, I don't know, 6-8 inches of fuel up to about there where my thumb's at. Smells okay. It looks yellow. We've got fuel. What's that thing, an air tank? Probably. So you may be asking yourself, what the heck do I want with this thing? Well, I'm never going to use this tractor as a semi-truck again. So I want parts off of it. I want the engine, potentially, the transmission, maybe the rims, maybe the fuel tank if it's any good. The fifth wheel plate might still be good. Lots of little things that I could put on some of my other machines. Another, like that front bumper's awesome. And really, I've got no money in it. So might as well just try and get it started. There's our battery box. There's some more air tanks. I mean, all of these tires are just cracking. Sidewalls, they're really weathered. That isn't a Holland fifth wheel plate. That's a nice fifth wheel plate. Do we even have battery? Doesn't look like it. Batteries have been stolen, so have the wire. Big copper ground or leads. There's one. And then that's the ground. That battery box is bad. Is this another fuel? Yep, it is. What do I do with my stick? There it is. There's probably 6-8 inches of diesel on that side too. So this thing is set up with glad hands for air here. Looks like it's got auxiliary glad hands for air brakes. And then in the back, It has another set for maybe towing a deck over trailer and hooking up air there. And then we've got a, looks like electrical hook up there for whatever trailer. Sure, all of that is no good. That fifth wheel plate though, that's a nice one. It's in good shape too. All right, let's see what year we got. So, February of '85 on that one. And this one says February 22nd, 1985. So we got a 1985 truck here. Hour meter, 7,047 hours. Yeah. We have no key. Start button there. Hey, buddy. Little wasp. A little cold for you. Stuff like, even on this door, this little side panel I need for one of my other trucks. Basically, one of my other ones looks like that. It's missing. Wow. I forgot there's no passenger seat. And then this is a huge, like, engine hump in here with a big hole in it. How many miles we have? According to this, there are 162,735 miles. All right, 162,735.3. All these gauges, like the oil pressure gauge says it's already got oil. Water temp says we're over 140, 30. Fuel says we're maybe a third of a tank. And we got tunes. Sweet. Power divider. Yeah. No idea what for a transmission. Let's see if the transmission will even go into gear. It does feel like there's some sort of a clutch. Well, there's our, we have a 9-speed Fuller Road Ranger. So we got low, first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, and then reverse, high and low. Oh, there's your buddies. Or at least there's where their home was. Hey guys. Oh, there's one. There's one. There's gonna be one under here, I know it. Yep, there they are. That certificate or that inspection sticker says 2000. Doesn't seem unreasonable time-wise. Well, since we have no key, we do have an engine start button, so we should be able to hotwire, undo that ignition switch, and figure out what we need to do to make it connect. Air ride seat. I'm sure that's junk. Although you never know. I don't know. Throttle pedal. I think that's throttle. Yeah, air brake. There's your throttle. It doesn't have a throttle pedal. It has a roller. So that's, oh, here it is. So that goes like that. And then, like I was saying earlier, these doors don't shut. So something on the inside of here is not closing. I don't know, another problem for another day. I guess we kind of know there's oil in it. Let's put some batteries on and just see what happens. I don't have high hopes, but let's find out. See if I can make a hole with this wire. I'm betting that's a positive. Obviously, I know this is a ground. Somebody cut and took everything. Get these eye pokers out of the way. Better go cover that. Yes, safe. Thank you to whoever cut all the wires and took the old batteries. Let's try this jumper pack and see if it's got the guts to do this. I'm going to verify it's 24 volts. I'm almost positive it is. There's no other... Tractors are usually always 24 volts. You know, I'm trying to figure out if it's 24 or 12 volts. I might be wrong that it's 24. This alternator says volts 14, and then back here it says 14 volt, 3-step. Normally the alternator would say 24 or 12. I've actually never seen a 14, unless it just means that the 14 is like what it's going to be operating at, which would make sense because obviously the 14 is going to be what it needs to charge the batteries and keep them above 12.6 to 12.8 or higher. So other thing while I'm here, let's grab this mouse nest out of this so we don't suck it into the engine. Not great, but better. The filter's not plugged, so even if it does get some, it's gonna be stopped by that. We're gonna start with 12 volts. I think it'd be safe just to do that. You can always add more voltage. So let's just plug this in. I've got the ground wire just clipped. I kind of cleaned it up with a wire brush. Exposed some more copper on the actual wire that goes to the starter. We'll give it 12 and we'll see what happens. What's that? Electrical connection of some kind? It's like an outlet. Oh, that's probably for a heater. For the block heater. That's pretty cool. Well, I don't see any smoking. I don't see any fires. Our starter is... Our starter is right down there. Center of the screen is the solenoid. Our injection pump is right here. The alternator is on the other side. Big old monster flat valve cover. I can't find the ID badge for this. It looks like it was right there for the engine, so I'm gonna have to dig around and see if maybe they have it in the cab or something. Yeah. Alright, well, not sure if we're gonna try and rig this up electrically or just go right to the starter, but I doubt pushing this is going to do anything. Nope. I think I'm going to start by pulling out that switch and seeing if I can rig it that way. Alright, I labeled them all. Pulled the wires out so I can read. On the bottom, usually there's words. We got ignition, battery, accessory, and start. So I was over here looking around, and This is the boot that goes from the air intake down into the turbo. And come to find out, it was cracked open, not cracked on the boot, but letting dirt and dust in. And I reached in, and I can't turn the turbo by hand. A type H2C or H2G. Assembly is 3519992, something like that. I'll get a better picture of it. So I don't want to pry on that. I do think we're going to get some lube in there. Just get it soaking. So maybe just the condensation and water that built up in there and basically condensed and then sat there for a while. Hopefully just lightly seized the turbo. Again, I don't know anything about this engine, so I'm just kind of trying to do my best not to destroy it, because one of the main things I want from this truck is the engine. So I don't know, we'll see. I'll let it sit there and we'll go from there. So it's just putting a little bit of oil on all the pulleys. Anything's going to spin. Throw some lube on some of these mechanisms for the actual throttle. Got some on the fan, all the pulleys down in there. And I think what I'm going to do, I don't have this key, so I'm just going to run back to the shop. I'm going to take one out of my other trucks and plug it in and see if we can turn it. I could hotwire it. It'd be easier to just put a key in that I know works and be able to turn that key and test it that way. Let's see if I can put a socket on this turbo and see if it'll turn. I think I just loosened the nut. Nope. It does not want to turn. Okay. Yeah, I'm not gonna push it too hard. All right, let's go get the other stuff we need. We'll come back. That'll be a project for another day. All right, so I went back to the shop and I grabbed an ignition out of my other one of my other trucks. Exact same thing. This one only had the main big plug on it and then one on the accessory. So I'll have to match them up for this one. We'll get it installed and we'll see if we can actually turn it over with the key. Now we have a key switch that we can turn. So I'm going to turn the battery on and we'll see what happens. All right, we're going 12 volt. So now well, the engine's trying to turn over. And that's a low air buzzer. Some smoking back here. We don't have a very good ground. Let's try 24. Let's try and figure out if this is 24 for sure or 12. I'm gonna get under there and look at the starter a little better. Alrighty. Alright. There's our starter. Right there. Ugh. And that's the badge we need to read right here. I was messing with it and the tag actually came off. It's a Delco Remy 40 MT, which is what I expected it to be. Just can't see the volts. Maybe I can look that serial number up. Alright, so I looked that number 1114938 up, and on the Delco Remy website it says that it is an obsolete part. Don't care. System voltage is 12, so it's a 12 volt system. So at least we know it's 12 volts, not 24. So I'm gonna work on that. I might even try and hook up wires right to the starter rather than using that crappy wire. Now that I've got access under here. But yeah, we got what we wanted. I'm gonna keep this badge. Probably try and put it back on the starter at some point, but I don't like removing this kind of badge from parts, because then later you don't have them. So I'm gonna try and get that back on the starter. The starter was trying, so I guess there's that. I cut out a few of these trees that are growing up through it. Alright, I've got an actual battery running. Positive cable goes to the original wire. I kind of slung it up here. It's the only spot I could get a battery. And the ground cable goes directly to the ground lug on the starter itself. So we've got that, plus we have the jumper pack on it, 12 volt. Turn the key. Let's just see what happens. Here we go. Well, we know the engine's not stuck. I don't think we're getting full battery, so I think that there's some corrosion on that starter. And actually, I see some smoke coming from somewhere. Well, I spent most of the rest of the evening trying to get the starter to actually turn, and so I just decided I pulled it out. I spent a bunch of time. It was a project that you'd rather not. This is a family-friendly show, and so yeah, ripping that thing out there, not easy. In the dirt, crap falling on me. Bleh. But I'm gonna have that rebuilt. I might actually have another 12 volt 40 MT starter back at the shop, and so if I do, I'm gonna grab that, bring that back here, and we'll use it for now while the other one's being rebuilt. So for tonight, I'm gonna close it up. Put this boot back on the turbo. We're gonna let that sit, and so hopefully that'll free up. I don't know. we'll see where we go with this thing. I'd like to get it started, and it's not locked up, so at least we know that. So I'll see you like that. So we're back with the International truck, and I've finally got the rebuilt starter. It's only been a couple days, but we got it fully rebuilt, ready to rock and roll. Let's try and stab it in this thing and see if it's gonna work for us. It's been it was a heck of a process getting it out of there. So much so that I had to literally cut. I had to cut the end of the solenoid right off to be able to get it out of here because the bolts on the end were just spinning. They're so rotten. So I left it all in here so that I would know what wires go where and not have to play the figure it out game. So right now I'm gonna work on trying to get that bolt cut, and then we can clean up the ends, clean up the grounds, and then we'll stab the starter right back in its hole and go from there. The stud keeps spinning. We're gonna try and cut it without damaging anything. See how this goes. Got it. There we go. There's the old junk solenoid. So I've got a couple things I need to do. We need to work on getting some terminals on some battery cable because this is the original cable, went from the positive of the battery to the starter. Somebody so wonderfully chopped it for us. So got some terminals, got some different cable. Just need to make something temporary to be able to use a battery and get this thing started, or find out that it won't start. Don't really know yet. So let's figure this out. And for those who are wondering, the reason I went ahead and had this rebuilt is, say this engine's bad and I cannot get it started, I'm gonna pull that starter, I'm gonna hang on to it. It's a Delco Remy 40MT 12 volt starter. It is absolutely used on so many different heavy equipment machines, trucks, you name it. So it was worth having it rebuilt just to have a spare if this engine doesn't work out. So let's just keep on plugging forward and charging ahead as if the engine's gonna just crank right to life. So let's get that in. All right, now I have to do some massive push-ups to get this big starter up there. Okay. There we go. I had to clean all the grounds. All the terminals for the actual positive connections were corroded, so I cut them all off, crimped on and soldered on new connections for those. This has been a heck of a lot more work than I was anticipating, but as it usually goes. So once we get this going, we're gonna figure out how we're gonna run power to a battery, and then we'll try and start it. I was able to find the engine badge. So this is a Cummins model LT A10. So this is an L10 Cummins rated at 270 horsepower at 1900 RPM. Manufactured December of 1984. So that's the engine. I thought I had seen it. It fell off the engine and was sitting in the engine bay somewhere. So at least we have that. Got our battery hooked up. And I'm just gonna try it without a jumper pack. Let's see if it'll come back to life for us. Well, that's a good sign. There we go. Oh, wow. It's cranking. Awesome. All right. So we might not be getting fast enough crank, so we're going to add a jumper pack to it. 12 volt. All right, if we can't get it going fast enough, we'll give it a little bit of the sauce. Let's see what happens now. It's trying. Let's try a little of this. All right. Yeah, baby! Oh, yeah! She's running! She started to run away on me. Hell yes. What do you think? We got a massive air leak. Just out of the bottom of that. So a lot of times with these old air pressure valves, junk gets built up right at the end. There. You just mess with it a little bit, get it to seat right. Awesome. Well, the old L10 Cummins came right to life. See, the turbo is still stuck, not spinning. What do you think of that? Absolutely amazing. This thing just literally took one puff of ether and just fired right up. Now, it's pegging out. It's literally going 2,500 RPM and just staying there. So something is stuck, throttle cable, whatever, but our shutoff solenoid does work. Now, we also have no turbo. It is, the fins are bound on the intake side. Man, I am pumped. I really thought there was almost no chance of this thing starting. It goes to show you what an old Cummins diesel is built of. This thing has been here for at least 25, maybe 30 years. It's been parked here. Mind-blowing that it just busted off right off the bat. One little puff of ether probably is all it needed to really get it started enough to prime all the injectors, get the pump pushing fluid to each injector line. I didn't touch injector lines. I didn't touch the pump. I have done nothing but electrical, grounds, rebuild the starter, put the starter back in, clean the brush away from it. That's it. And then we put a battery on, and you saw what the result was. So, awesome. Now, it's getting a little late. It's going to be getting dark literally any second. I absolutely hate this time change we do every stinking year. You know, it makes it so that people in the morning get more time and people at night get less. I don't know. I didn't have any input on it. Maybe you should ask somebody to help me change that. But I don't know. Let's try and check the throttle out, see if we can figure out if that's the reason it's pegging. Maybe we can start it up and at least let it run cool. All right, so our injector pump is right there. And this here, that's our throttle. It comes up this mechanism. So this throttle linkage, that's your pedal. And then I'm betting that this here should be the shutoff. Not sure if up is no fuel, and down, usually down is your low idle, and then up would be the actual throttle to increase your RPM. So let's see here. If I put this all the way up, so this is our, now you can't see anything. Here's got our brake pedal. There's the throttle. It already broke the pedal off somehow. I'm not sure when and where that happened. Not sure exactly how that goes. Something like this. But that, moving it up does nothing. Down probably pulls that linkage up. I'm gonna set you up here. You tell me if this linkage moves up like that when I push the pedal. I'm gonna go push the pedal. All right, push the pedal. Does that go up? That's the pedal down. Does that lever go up? So yeah, like you said, it does go up. So why are we running at such a high RPM? This has to be, let's see, if you pull that out, that must be a throttle control. So this here would be a way to set your throttle in the cab. So yeah, that's a throttle setting. So you can basically set this thing to a high idle, maybe use it as a cruise. Some of my other trucks have one of those, and specifically for, you know, like a PTO driven setup where you can increase RPM, set it to a certain RPM while you're using other auxiliary functions. I don't think this has a PTO on it. I know we don't have auxiliary hydraulic lines back here for like a wet kit. We just had the air lines, electric hookup, and then at the back of the actual truck just have the glad hands. It doesn't look like it was ever equipped with a wet kit. A wet kit is what you would use to hook up like a lowboy or a trailer that needs auxiliary hydraulics, like a ramp gate, one that has like the tail end of it folds down, or a lowboy that disconnects. You'd need to be able to have hydraulics to run the cylinders to open, to basically lift the neck up and away from the actual trailer when you're disconnecting it, and then when you're reconnecting it. So let's give it one more shot, start it up, see if it just revs to the moon, and if it does, we'll have to do a little more research, figure out what's going on it. So yeah, I'm pumped. At least she runs. Awesome. Let's give it a little bit of PB blaster on the linkage there. A little penetrating oil. I don't know if it's going to help anything, but put a little bit on the linkage here. All right, start it up. Totally pumped about today's progress. The goal on this machine is to get it started running and driving enough to pull it onto a trailer to take it back to the shop. So that's where we're headed. That's the plan. So let's see what else it's going to take. I mean, we still have, does the transmission work? Does the air brakes work? Do we need to cage all the brakes on the rims to be able to move it? Will we be able to pull forward with it? Are the brakes locked up? I mean, there's a lot of different things that could be causing us issues here. So, but we have a big one checked off the list. Does the engine run? Will it start? It does. It starts. Awesome. I'm so pumped about that. So, stay tuned. I'll be right back. I can't go home without at least putting the clutch in and seeing if the transmission will do anything. Nothing. No idea. It's too dark to mess up. So we're going to call it for the night. Like I said, I'll be right back. All right, I am back to finally see if we can figure out why this thing's revving to the moon. So here, we've got the battery all hooked up, jumper pack is on. Let's pop this hood open. See if our turbo freed up. It did not. It's all right, problem for another day. So the things I think might be causing this thing to rev to the moon are it's sucking air somewhere, or in the pump, the fuel rack is all the way on, or all the way open, and it's stuck that way. I think this is a PT pump. I think that's what that says right there. Cummins fuel system. I think that's a PT in the little square. I can't find any numbers on it. It is dirty and oily. Kind of as if, you know, it's been leaking right around that throttle shaft. So maybe there's a seal there that's not doing its thing, causing air to get sucked in that area. You can see our newly rebuilt starter right there. So I have not started it. I haven't even cranked it. Let's see what happens if we need any ether to get it started, or let's see if it pops right off. I just want to find that out for sure. Well, that actually sounded better. So the exhaust pipe here has tons of holes in it, and it's completely disconnected right there. Let me see if I can bend it, the flex pipe. There we go. So now I can get the exhaust to just shoot out this way, rather than some of it going in here and going up the pipe, some of it coming under the cab. Tubing out of the way, maybe. All this electrical shielding just turns to complete dust. That's what happens when stuff sits. All right, let's try it again, see what happens. Well, the turbo finally came back to life. It literally wasn't working, it was seized. I think maybe it just needed a little heat cycle. Let's try it again. we got the wheels at least turned in a better direction towards out. The turbo is really growly, so we don't want to, well, I don't know. I was gonna say we don't want to ruin it, but at this point it's probably gonna need to get rebuilt either way. At least it's turning now. It's not smoking as much. We're still revving to the moon. So this is some sort of a fuel water separator, maybe? There's a sticker in the dash about it. Yeah, nothing good. Does the same thing, just goes all the way revving. We had about, I don't know, almost 60 PSI of oil pressure, and I thought the gauge was broken, but when you turn the key again, it resets it back to 0. For whatever reason, it stays on whatever pressure it is when you go to shut it off with the key. We're also not building air, and I don't know if that's a related issue. I do know that this pump, the Cummins PT pump, is connected to our Bendix air compressor, and then the air compressor is connected into the timing housing, the gear, it's probably the timing gears itself. So I don't know, maybe there's some issue with them being connected, and at that high RPM it's not building air pressure. It doesn't make sense. So I don't know, I'm not sure. When we first did get this thing started, it was building pressure. I could bump these so you can actually hear some still. Not much. But another option is to put air into it and try and fill all the tanks in order to get the brakes to release. We're gonna need to do that if we're gonna move it onto a trailer or wherever. But all right, it reeks in here like mouse nest, rotten something. So I want to work. I can take this tunnel off. It gets me a little bit more access to right down there where the starter's at and the fuel injection pump is. So normally I would never do this in the field, but I brought a vacuum. I'm gonna clean this out a little bit better. There was a massive raccoon nest all over the top of this engine. I've scraped some of it, threw it away, you know, like there's a huge turd right there. I don't want to catch any of that Hanta sickness, so not that this is gonna help. I don't know, make me feel better. Let's do that. Oh, check that out. Styling. Ooh, free wrench. Oh, it's crusty. No idea. Somebody stole one of the seats out of here. I pulled the starter out again. I wish I had done this before, but then again, I didn't even know this was going to be an issue, so I put the new starter in, which goes right here. We got our wires all up there. That is the back. Right there, that's the back of the injection pump. Behind door number 1, this little cone, there should be some springs and potentially enough access to get to the actual throttle shaft. I think they call it the governor shaft, something to that effect, and it is probably stuck all the way open one way. I'm not sure which way that is. So we're going to cut this wire, take off, I don't know, I guess we do have to take off all 4 of the bolts there, and then we should be able to get accessed. If not, we're going to pull the whole pump out. The pump is definitely the problem. And actually, before we do that, let's do one more thing on top. There's a plug I can open up to see if there's a filter screen. All right, right here, this bolt should have a little filter screen underneath it. You know what? I'm not gonna mess with it. Right now, I'm less worried about what's in there, because if we were getting no fuel, I would be more concerned with that being blocked. We are getting plenty of fuel, so I'm more concerned with the governor, and I don't want to break anything. It's such a hard place to access this. I don't have a good screwdriver that fits it here. Let's see what we can do on the other side of it, and we'll go from there. All right, let's cut this wire. The do not screw with me wire. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to get that off without taking this bracket off. Which really is only 2 bolts. Doesn't look like it. On these old diesels, it's always the pump. Most of the time, if you're having issues with fuel or some situation where you can't quite get it running, I'd say 9 out of 10 times it's the pump. In one way or another. Alright, so the ones that are on this bracket are longer. The ones that are just on the cone are shorter. The bolts, that is. Here's our bracket. I don't know if fuel's gonna come out of this or not, but we'll find out in a second. I also don't know if I need to take that middle bolt out or not. So the middle screw is technically the idle adjustment screw. I really don't want to mess with it, but getting fuel out of it. Doesn't seem like an adjustment screw, it's a plug. Oh man, that diesel looks so bad. So there must be another screw inside of it that's for the idle. I'm gonna grab a hammer. We're gonna give it a little wallop. See if we can't break it free from the housing. There we go. We got a drippy everywhere. There we go. Got a little container down here. I'm trying to catch it all. There's our cover. That's our idle adjustment screw right there. I don't think I can really get in there. I think we may be pulling the pump. Alright, well, I'm taking the pump out. It'd be easier to do everything and unstick it on a bench anyway. The lines are not in good shape. I'm gonna struggle with this, and I'll bring you back when I'm a little further into the struggle. So I'm working on getting this pump. I've got pretty much all the lines disconnected. 3 of the 4 bolts that hold it to the housing are removed. And there's a bolt right there. That's the last one. And here's the thing. There's like literally almost no room. I took a fitting right here off the compressor. I took the actual RPM, the whatever you call that, cable off. And I've had this wrench for years. Never ever used one of these. Only one I have is a 5/8 and 3/4. I need a 5/8. I need it to curve like that. And wouldn't you know, this is exactly the tool for the job. So I guess it pays to be a tool hoarder. So if we reach it up, goes right back there. It's right there. And then I pull it. Oh, shoot. Welcome to the world of working on old junk that's been sitting. So you get this baby back in there. Like that, and then pull it this way. Get it on there and down. So yeah, it's just enough room to reach in there. It's a 12 point, so there's more, you know, it gets on to the actual head of the bolt a lot easier. And then you get about that much stroke, then you gotta take it off, push it forward, and down. So I'll do this about 1,200 more times, and we'll get the pump pulled out. All right, I got it. There we go. There's our last bolt. Thank God for the right tool. All right, here's our pump. Should come right out. Yep, I gotta get this, there, the throttle linkage out. Having the starter out definitely made a big difference. So that is where it attaches to the compressor. So on this pump, there's literally no timing that we have to worry about on the engine. All we have to do is get it off and then get these 3 lined up with what's in there, which is not difficult at all. Way easier than some of the other pumps I've dealt with. All right, let's get this thing out of here. All right, there's our pump. Try and knock off a little bit of this dirt and debris. So we're gonna have to open it up. I'd say that's a bit cleaner. All right, so I just got off the phone with Area Diesel Service, and they helped me tear apart this pump to get down to the governor shaft. And this PT pump is actually pretty dang simple once you know what goes where. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in, I'm going to clean and detail all of this. I did a little bit on this gear. See how this side's all dirty and that side's not? This is what old diesel does. It gets in pumps and it kind of just builds up this corrosion. Sometimes it's as easy as just rubbing it off. Sometimes you need a wire brush. Sometimes you need a lot more than that. But the plan will be to get as much of this corrosion off, this old diesel built up, and then put it all back together, and we'll see if we've got an engine that'll actually run normal speeds. But I was thoroughly impressed at how simple this was to get apart. So if you've got issues or questions about your injection pump, turbo, diesel engine, whatever, the guys at Area Diesel Service are incredible. They will take the time to talk to you, work through whatever you've got going, help you fix your problem. And they don't just do that for YouTubers. It is something they do for just about anybody, which is why their business is done so well. So, big thank you to the guys at Area Diesel. I will start cleaning this, and I'll bring you back when we've got something interesting to see. Alright, so this is the actual governor shaft itself. And it goes right down in this hole. And now it spins beautifully, goes up and down, no binding. So we think that's probably what the problem was. It was just kind of stuck all the way that way, I think. But now I can push that. There's a button down there on the other end. You can see it moving like that. So that should be free. So there's this little drive tang right here, and our flyweights sit right like that. And then this shaft fits into that hole, and this geared shaft fits on this gear down here. Spline shaft. Alright, we should be able to drop this straight on. Beautiful. Alright, I'm going to get all the bolts put back in. And then we got one more cover to put on. I wouldn't call it rebuilt, but I'd call it a heck of a lot cleaner. And hopefully, our governor is doing what it should. So I got this back cone back on. Everything's put back together. Let's toss this in there and see what happens. You will never guess what I just found in the gravel right next to the truck. It's a key. It looks like an international key, at least the style that all of my other ones have. I wonder if this is the key to the truck. I have the switch here. Let's find out. All right, here we go. This is the switch I took out of the truck. I know it's going to fit in it. Now, does it turn? It does. What are the chances? Are you kidding me? What are the chances I find the actual key? I guess we just needed to stir up some gravel around this old thing to find it. Wow. Well, I'll put this back in, and then I can give my other truck its ignition switch back. All right. I've got the pump fully installed. All the lines are back on. And everything's ready to rock and roll on that. I got to put the starter in right back there. And then we'll be ready to start. It is getting kind of dark out. Sun's starting to come down a bit. But regardless, I'm going to keep pressuring on. Try and get the starter in. Maybe we can get it started tonight. Maybe we won't. But at least it'll be ready to try tomorrow. I'm optimistic that that pump was just kind of seized up in it. Cool. All right, here we go. Crank it. Well, it still revs to the moon. So, about the only thing I can think of is it's sucking air somewhere. So, I'm wondering if I need to just, probably should have done this a while ago, but disconnect the fuel lines and run a line into a tank and get rid of any potential for air intrusion into the fuel system. Yeah, I don't know. Started right up. I mean, that pump was empty, so it was definitely running on whatever was in the injectors and injector lines. It goes right to like 2600 RPM. Its rated horsepower is 270 at 1900 RPM. So either it's not governed, or whatever is causing it to go to such a high RPM, such as air, is basically taking the engine past its governed RPM. So, I don't know. For tonight, I am done. Pump has been pulled, made sure that wasn't the problem. Starter's been put back in, clearly it starts back up. I'll be back tomorrow, and we'll start diagnosing maybe fuel lines. I don't know. This machine has sat for like 20 plus years. It might even be more than that. They didn't know. I don't know. I know at least 20. So there's absolutely a chance that some of those fuel lines are just junk. I know the fuel's probably junk, but I'm just trying to get it going with what we got here. So yeah. Not the ending I wanted for tonight, the ending we have. So I'll see you bright and early. All right, let's go ahead and switch this key switch back to its original ignition. I don't know if that actually goes there or not. It wasn't on when I found it. Let's try it. Alright, here's the key we found. Bingo. I'm going to find a key ring of some kind to throw on that so we don't accidentally lose it. And then this will go back on the other international truck it came off of, so I can put it back to work. I was going to buy an ignition switch and some matching locks, but for now I'm not going to do anything. We're just going to run it like that. I don't necessarily need it to lock. I do need it to start with the key. All right, let's see if we get any noise with the new old key. Awesome. Heck yeah. Okay, still wants to crank. Let me find something to put this on. I was trying to look down the tank with the inspection camera and I just couldn't see past. There's like a baffle right here. So I'm gonna pull this little cover here. We'll see what we see. I think I even saved the gasket. Look at me go. Well, what I'm looking for, I'm trying to see, and it's going to be very hard to show you. I can barely see it. I'm trying to see if the pickup tube has any cracks in it, is broken, is missing. It looks good. So maybe what I'm going to do, maybe we take the fuel line off and blow it backwards all the way through to try and eliminate somewhere where it might be stopped up. That could also cause this. I don't know. This line goes from right up here, coming off of the block, I'm pretty sure it's the return line, to this port right there. So I took this off mainly because see all the cracks in it? It's weather checked. I thought maybe it was sucking air through there. But then my plan was going to be to put a hose barb in that hole and then run that up to there and put a new piece of hose in there. Well, I pulled this off, and it has a little O-ring and some sort of a washer. But when I pulled it off, it went tss, and then I blew through it, and I can't. So there is, I'm pretty sure that this thing is just stopped up. And I'm pretty sure that would cause, or could cause, this issue. But I'm pretty sure that this should not be plugged. So let's try and get it cleaned out. And then honestly, I don't have much ripped apart yet. Let's put it back the way it was and start it before we go putting in our other fuel line that would basically attach right here from a tank. So if I try and blow through this, watch. I get nothing. I don't think it has a check ball in there. Yeah, let's try and clean it out. Just try and run a wire through it. It is possible that there is a check ball in there. There we go. Hear that? It's free now. Or unclogged. Either way, that was not the case before. I think there is a check ball in there. I hear something. Yeah, there definitely is. A little spring and some sort of a either glass or steel ball. I don't know, maybe that's not the issue. Because if it is working the right way, I probably don't have enough pressure to blow through that to get that to release. I can hear it in there. Alright, either way, we're going to throw this back on and give it a try. Because I just want to eliminate that before we do anything else. Alright, place your bets, place your bets. Are we going to get it started? Or is it going to be one more thing that didn't work? Let's find out. I thought for a second there we had it figured out. Initially, on a first start for the day, it'll kind of idle a little low. I'll give it some throttle, and then it just goes to the moon. So, I don't know. Let's try it again. Well, we didn't fix it. Fuel to the actual pump is this line right here. It's that line right there. And as the guys at Area Diesel Service always say, running these old dogs with the diesel that's in them is actually very bad for the pumps. So I think what I might do is try and disconnect it at the pump, run it into a 5-gallon bucket of diesel and see what happens. See if I can figure out a fitting for that. Right here, there's a filter. Right down there, I took the fitting out of it. This line that goes right here essentially goes to right there. I have the other end disconnected. I was trying to do it from that end to eliminate this hose, but I can't get the fitting out of the pump the way it is. Had I done it before, when I had the pump off, that would have been great and all, but hindsight being 20/20 and all, we're gonna basically eliminate everything from the fuel system other than this hose. So I've got this fitting. It goes from this flared fitting to a pipe fitting. I brought a bunch of pipe. See if we can find a union. Looks the right size. That looks right. That one looks right, 1/2 inch. Let's see. Yep, that'll thread in. Alright, let's go with that one. It looks cleaner. And then these are all barbed hose fittings. Let's see if we can find one. We need it to thread into this end, so we're gonna need a big chunk like that. But I want it to go down to a smaller hose, you know, like kind of a skinny hose like that, because that's what I have. Like, ooh, that one. That one would probably do it. Does that thread into here? It does. Alright, so there. And then to there. So that'll be how we'll adapt our own fuel line into the injection pump. This junk's all dried up. We'll make it work for today. This is the diesel we're getting out of that. Either it was red dyed or it's really old, and maybe even both. But this came directly out of the injection pump when I pulled that little cap when it was still on the machine. But yeah, not good. So here's what we're gonna do. 5 gallons of clean diesel. We're gonna run a line from here to the injection pump using this. And then I'm gonna zip tie the line to this to keep it straight down in so it doesn't end up wanting to curve up, which is what happens when you get it on a reel like this. Alright, diesel can connected to the injection pump. The only thing left of the original fuel system is the actual PT pump and one small hose. So if we still have a problem, maybe it's that hose, but I don't know. Let's find out. Well, the reason it ran so weird at first is it had to prime the line that we added. I had no fuel in it. Once it primed it up, it just went right to the max. So, ugh. I found one loose connection on the actual engine that I loosened but didn't tighten a while back. Let's see if that fixed it. Nope. I'm gonna quit saying I think I found the problem, but I did find a problem. If you see right there, you can just barely hear hissing. So there's a hole in this hard line just there. So that could very well be the whole issue. What I might do is cut it here and on the other side and just put a piece of rubber tubing in there with hose clamps, because I do not have that here. But I do have hose clamps. But that could be where it's sucking air right here. So it goes from the actual head down over to essentially this tube, which I believe is the return line. Well, I guess we got to fix it either way. So let's just do it. All right, there's what we got. We've got a rubber line going from this hard line over to the other port, and from this hard line here over to the return block. And so they both lines look pretty suspect, so I just cut them and threw in some rubber for now. Double hose clamp both sides of all of those. Got all the other fittings back on, got the throttle back engaged. All right, let's see if we'll start it now and see what happens. All right, here we go. I aired up the brakes. We're going to start it in gear and see what happens. Well, we had one tire spinning. The back axle on driver's side was spinning. The other ones weren't moving at all. All right, well, this machine will not cooperate. I am done working on it here. I do not want to mess working in the gravel and having to bring a van full of tools. So we are going to drag it onto the trailer and haul it back to the shop. I still do have pretty dang good confidence that this is a good engine. No idea on the transmission. I do know I put it in gear and then I, tried womping on it. I got this axle, this side here was spinning. As you can see, the dirt marks are different. So it spun. I do have both brake chambers caged, that one and that one over there. You know that they're caged because there's bolts sticking out of the back of them. Otherwise, there's a plug that caps that keeps water out. On a semi like this, there's only 2 parking brake / emergency brake chambers. This rear axle only has the brakes that when they're put on, they engage the brakes, but they release when they're not. And this one here, it's gone completely Wi-Fi. It's decided that it wants to join the Dust to Dust Club. And there's pretty much nothing left inside of there. So obviously that's not good, but doesn't hurt us here. So maybe this one did loosen up. Yeah, actually I can tell now. See this pile of dirt? That would have been settled right here to the bottom. So this tire did, or this axle did rotate too on this side, a little bit. Oh yeah, you can tell with the dirt there. I didn't notice that. Well, long story short, we're gonna work on this elsewhere, but let's get it drug onto the trailer. Well, I moved it out of its hole. I need to start it up and crank the wheels a little bit so it'll roll up on the trailer better. Let's see if it cold starts as easily as it has been. right, so I added a ratchet strap from the steering wheel to the frame, and the reason is to keep these wheels turned that way, because when I started pulling it earlier, the wheels were turned that way, but they went back. So I don't have a lot of room to work here. There's a truck, a car, a trailer, a semi. There's all kinds of stuff in the way. So I got to try and get this lined up as best I can. So if you haven't seen these before, these are a heavy-duty wheel chock, essentially designed for big trucks like this when you're either operating a big wrecker or a winch truck like this, to be able to stop the machine from pulling back or whatever you're pulling on, dragging the truck towards it. And these are old school, built like a tank. There's these big serrated sections that bite in, and then obviously the wedge fits down under the tire like that. They work absolutely amazing. I need to get a chain on this one. There's a chain on the other one. Some of the pulls that I do with this truck, without these, it wouldn't be possible. I've tried wood, I've tried all kinds of other things to block the wheels. These are the only thing that I found. Now, we just pulled dead weight. The axles were locked up, the back wheels were dragging, the front wasn't even turning, I don't think, and it finally broke loose. But yeah, man, I can't say enough things about this truck and the winch that it has. It's absolutely amazing. So let's get these put on. We're gonna pull forward a little bit, get it chained down. We'll head back to the shop. All right, we made a little bit of a mess here. Let's clean it up. Well, it's not perfect, but it'll be good enough. What are you doing here still? Come on, we're going. All right, let's rock and roll. We got here safe and sound just before the rain. So I really wanted to have it running, driving, operating, try and figure out the transmission before the end of this video, but I need your help. If you know anything about an L10 Cummins and you could tell me what the potential causes of it just revving to the moon, maybe I'm still sucking air somewhere, I don't know, but please leave me a comment. Let me know your thoughts. I'm open to anything. I really do think this truck, the engine, transmission, are in very good condition. The cab, probably not, but, you know, the rear end is probably worth saving. The fifth wheel plate's worth saving. The bumper's worth saving. So, but it all starts with, does the engine and the transmission work? Because if they do, I want to put them in a different truck. If they don't, I'm going to pull the starter off it and pull the alternator. We'll take pieces off it. We'll hang on to them. And then it's just a pile of junk. But the fact that it runs so well and just goes revs to the moon says something's just not right. And we might have a very good engine here. So let me know if you have any ideas for an LTA 10 Cummins engine built in 1985. I don't know. All mechanical, no computer. Either way, successful recovery. We did get it running. It didn't drive on the trailer or drive home. But that's all right. Thanks for your support. I truly appreciate it. Look forward to more on this old beast and all the others that we've been rescuing. You guys have a great one. I'll catch you soon.